皆様、おはようございます。
Good morning, everyone. I thank you very much indeed for joining us either at the venue or online, despite your busy schedule. I will be playing the role as a moderator for today's event. My name is Nambo, and I belong to the Global CCS Institute in Japan. Now we would like to announce the commencement of the Japan CCS Forum 2022. This year's Japan CCS Forum is being hosted at the physical venue for the first time in 3 years. We are also broadcasting this online, therefore in that sense this can be understood to be the hybrid event. Therefore we can have the participation of many people. We have around 100 people physically present, and there are around 600 people who are participating online, so 700 people in total have registered, which we are very much thankful. Thank you very much indeed for having so many people joining us. I would like to show our heartfelt appreciation. Not only that, we have the support and sponsorship from the organizations such as JOGMEC, JCO, right, in Japan CCS. I would like to show my heartfelt appreciation for the sponsorship and the support. Currently, all the countries and companies around the world are working on a variety of measures against the climate change, and CCS is rapidly being recognized as one of the effective measures. As a critical resource that supports our civilizations, human beings has to depend on fossil fuel for a while, and the CCS is what enables us to substantially reduce or eliminate the CO2 emitted from the fuel usage. Today, we are going to hear about the world status on the CCS and also the status in regards to the Middle East and China, which we do not have much information about. In the afternoon, we are going to have participants from the financial sectors to provide us with an explanation on issues and ways to promote effective commercialization of CCS. And subsequently, we are going to have panel discussion. I really do hope that today's information exchange and discussion will be beneficial for everyone here. And at the same time, I would also hope that it would be of use for the further development of the CCS. Thank you very much indeed. Now, we would like to have the first speaker to come to the stage.
経済産業省、資源エネルギー庁、石油。
We have the director of the CCUS Policy Agency of the Natural Resources and Energy, Mr. Saiki, to provide us with an explanation in regards to the policy of the Japan CCUS. The floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I was wondering whether to speak in Japanese or English, but let me speak in Japanese for now. As has been kindly introduced, my name is Saiki from Oil and Gas Division for Agency for Natural Resources and Energy under METI. Now, from September last year, those who are responsible for CCS have been moved from the Environment Division under METI to the Agency for Natural Resources and Energy, because more concretely, as we try to move forward in developing the CCS projects, we need to borrow the ability and the strength of the oil and gas industries. And also from the energy security perspective, Japan needs to continue to have offtake, and the energy sources need to be decarbonized increasingly. So from these two perspectives, we have moved the department to Agency for Natural Resources and Energy. I have been appointed to this position myself in July. We are thinking about the legislative framework as well as the budgeting framework. We are trying to formulate the drafts for those documents. Next slide, please. Next. So as you may know already, those of you who are here today, this is something like preaching to the Buddha. You know of this very well. For CCS, EOR, there was abundantly being seen to inject the CO2 into oil and gas wells. And as for Japan, in terms of research and development, there were 4 major projects. And the very first project has been started before the year 1990. It says Kubiki as well as Sarukawa. The CO2 injection, about 10,000 tons of injection have been done in the oil fields. Now, having done so, utilizing such existing technologies, from the latter half of 1990s to the early 2000s, Nagaoka CCS project was conducted. About 10,000 tons of storage was for the first time being conducted. This has been initiated by the RITE, the Research Institute. Now, then Japan CCS from 2007, as they have established their organization, and the actual CO2 injection was done from 2016 onwards to 2019 in Hokkaido at Tomakomai. 300,000 tons of injection have been done. We are now contemplating various policies for CCS, but more recent, these the projects will be the basis in calculating the costs involved, as well as how to respond to seismic effects and to introduce, working with the DOE of the United States to introduce the cutting-edge monitoring technologies into Japan. So we are proceeding with different projects to come. Now, more basically, why have we moved the responsibility of CCUS to the Agency of Natural Resources? Just because the timing of the research and development, of course, there are many issues and challenges that we need to grapple with. But Japan, as a country, have already declared that we would go for carbon neutrality. So the remainder of emissions, we should also try hard to reduce those emissions. And we would like to commercialize those potential projects. So the paradigm has shifted not only for Japan, but for the whole world. So we are full-fledgedly trying to move forward to introduce the CCUS in trying to formulate legislations and other institutional systems. So there has been a dramatic change in the policy of our government. Now, this is the Nagaoka project. 10,000 tons of injection has been done in the city of Nagaoka. The Niigata prefecture, where Nagaoka city resides, I believe still has a lot of potential for the sites for storage. This is a Tomakomai project for CCS. Right now, it is already in the monitoring phase. Inside Japan, this demonstration project at Tomakomai, what is the important point, if I may say so? Japan is not that large a country. Our land area is smaller than state of California, but population is threefold. So how to move forward in a stable manner project for CCS? We need to gain understanding of the local community, the residents. So in that sense, For Tomakomai demonstration project, the site was about 3 kilometers from the central district of Tomakomai. So it is a project which is closest to the city center in the world. And it was quite successful. So I would like to give them a high valuation. Without the understanding of the Tomakomai city, as well as the community residents' understanding, we are indeed very grateful to their support. Research and development would have to be continued into the future. But safety comes first. In Japan, there are areas where we cannot really conduct experiment. So the cutting edge fields like Texas as well as North Dakota in the United States, we need to work closely with them. So we are working with the right to try to develop the safety aspects. And in Australia, near the geological faults, we are having a water flow and trying to look at the relationship between such faults and the CCS projects. These research will be continued to be important for Japan. Right now, this is the list of CCS projects in our country. For Tomakomai, at this moment in time, in 2019, the 300,000 tons of injection have been completed. We are now in a monitoring stage. And going forward, when we try to commercialize these projects, we need to have a lot of research and demonstration to be done. So we are contemplating what to be done in Tomakomai. We are still making considerations and deliberations. As you may know, the regions and districts where we have a lot of emission, it will be Kanto and Chubu and Kinki, and where the chemicals industry and petrochemicals industry are concentrated, like Setouchi district. Those would be important areas, but unfortunately, the production of oil and gas, apart from Chiba, is no longer being done. So the potential on the Pacific coast has not been actually analyzed. So Niigata and Shimane, where potential of storage has already being confirmed, and also in Hokkaido area. So we need to have a shipping the project for the long haul. So we do have the project ongoing to try to carry and transport CO2 for long distance. And also for the siting research, we need to have the siting, the analysis being made nationwide. We also have international cooperation as well. So we are grateful to Global CCS Institute in the Asia CCS network. We are indeed very grateful that we will be able to closely work together. And towards the right-hand side top, you have Tomakomai project. This shows the demonstration project. We also have the CO2 transport ship. There's low temperature and low water pressure. And the tank capacity needs to be made larger in size. So as for project, it is Kansai Electric, Maizuru electric power generation plant. The CO2 will be transported over to Tomakomai. This is what we are thinking right now. And it says towards the left-hand side, capture and capture. About the cost of CCS needs to be spent for the capture process. Unless we can reduce the cost overall, I don't think a CCS project will be commercially viable. So at this moment in time, there is another division called coal division, which is responsible in trying to bring down the cost for the capture. Of course, it will depend upon different factors. It is about the 4,000 yen per ton but in 2030, we would like to bring down to 2,000, and we would like to bring down to 1,000 yen in 2050. We need to bring down to 1/4 the level of cost for the coal-fired power plants for the CCS project to become economically viable. So this demonstration project is indeed very important for us. Now, if I go into too much of a detail, there are many things that I would like to mention. In North Dakota field, we have the cutting-edge technology being employed for monitoring using fiber optic measurement technique. In a nutshell, optical fiber, not to be used for communication, but it will be used for sensing purposes. So massive volume of information will be coming in. Modeling will hold the key, how to make a good analysis. This is the joint research done in Australia. This is North Dakota. In the actual field, installation has been done. This is the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we see a demonstration ongoing with the CSIRO and CO2 CRC. And right, looking at the relationship between the geological faults and the CCS, because it is very hard to obtain understanding in Japan. And even for Australia, there have been bold enough to plunge into this demonstration project. We highly appreciate the support from Australia. So currently, we are making a survey into the proper siting, and the data has been transferred to JOGMEC. So we are providing information to JOGMEC. Turning to the next slide. As I have mentioned at the outset, why have we to change the organizational format? Because carbon neutrality to be achieved in 2050 was declared by Prime Minister Suga a few years ago. And how much of a CO2 storage needs to be done? And according to IEA, a calculation, it is estimated to the present the volume multiplied by 3.3, it is about 240 million tons. And what the government has pledged, according to their plan, it will be 120 million tons. So this is just a indicative target. And we are adding up the different emission sources. But I believe these two numerical figures are quite realistic as we see it. Now, we have CCS long-term roadmap being formulated, and the consideration has been started from January this year. The important point is, as it says under basic principles, how to bring down societal cost. And we would like to have a siting inside Japan. And we would like to continue in a more realistic manner investment by the industry for these projects. And at the same time, it is very difficult to set the target here, but at this moment in time, without fossil fuel, I don't think the economy will be viable, not only for Japan, but for the other countries. So we need to firmly establish the CCS technology and the projects. As I may have been repeating myself, we need to have legislative framework and support and subsidy framework to be indicated by government. So turning and skipping one page, this is the timetable for now. In the year 2050, 120 million to 240 million tons of CO2 to be stored. And as we move forward with the preparation, we need to select the appropriate sites, and we need to build the injection facilities. We need about 10 years to do so. As for commercialization, I believe it will be in the year 2030 and thereabouts where commercial projects could be actually realized. And the final investment decision, FID, should be taken by the industry by the year 2026 at least, or at the latest. So the government will try to prepare the necessary legislation for that. So starting from September this year, we have two working groups, one for legislation and the other for support measures. And we would like to create a framework to ask for necessary budget going forward. Now, Japan on our own cannot complete the CCUS network. And there are many precedents and leading projects overseas. And we would like to work together with the other countries in development in terms of geological information as well as ensuring safety of the projects. Of course, there will be many challenges involved as well, but it will be useful to work with the other countries. So those Asian countries, especially the Southeast Asian countries who have already declared that they would go for carbon neutrality, we would like to support their efforts as well. This is also important and relevant for Japan. And last year, Asia CCUS network has been established. We are closely cooperating with the area, the Research Institute of the ASEAN. So we will be working with the ASEAN countries as well as the United States, Australia, and India. So utilizing the Quad framework, we have established this Asia CCUS network. And I believe it was October this year, Asia CCUS Network Forum was held for the second time. And by the year 2030, the CCUS hub will be constructed. And around 2025, so more concrete projects will be implemented in Asia. And that is what we would like to see. So we are working with different countries, and we highly appreciate that there have been offers being made to us. And considering the legislative framework that we will be establishing, I very much hope that the ASEAN countries would be able to take advantage of this so that we could speed up the development of the CCUS the network. And there has been requests coming from the industry. If we are to export the CO2, what needs to be considered is, after injecting CO2, if some problem occurs, what about the liability and responsibility of those who have injected? And the industry would like to be given immunity to such a liability. So we are currently considering to introduce into our legislation that no responsibility or liability will be held to the operators. Amongst the Asian countries, as they go for carbon neutrality, from the geological point of view, the countries where they can find the storage sites, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, will be the countries where they could find sites within their borders. But the other ASEAN countries, it will be difficult to seek the sites. no potential for such siting, or they do not have the capability to develop those projects. But without the CCUS network for the whole of Asia, I think it will be difficult to achieve carbon neutrality. So this was the last slide, sorry. So this was the last slide. I thought 20 minutes was the time given. So I've just made the 20 minutes, I guess. So can I close my speech here? So am I all right with the time? Then thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。
佐伯さん、ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much, Saek-san. You have talked about the CCS policy of Japan as well as the prevailing situation overseas as well. Thank you very much for the comprehensive presentation. On the part of GCCI, thank you very much for your cooperation. And I understand that you are focused on incubation. We are very grateful for the efforts made by GCCI. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We would like to move on to the Keynote 2 presentation, which will be made by Mr. Masaki Oki, Project Manager of the Green Innovation Fund Project CO2 Separation and Capture Environment Department of the New Energy Industrial Technology Development Organization, NEDO. Technology development of the CCUS and toward carbon neutral by NEDO will be presented. Oki-san, over to you. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Oki of NEDO. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to speak at the Japan CCS Forum 2022. Currently, I'm working with the Green Innovation Fund that has been established by METI. Today, I would like to cover this topic on the screen. NEDO's technology development of CCUS toward carbon neutral. First of all, let me introduce a number to you. This number is 1/10⁻40,000. So 10 times power of 40,000. Do you know what this means? In this cosmos, the Earth's possibility of Earth being created is at the probability of 1/10⁻40,000. So let me give you an example to illustrate this point. There are two photographs on this page. There is the aircraft, and let's say the bits and pieces of the airplane is dismembered in disarray, and after a whirlwind, the fully assembled airplane will be created. That is akin to the possibility of the creation of this Earth. This Earth is indeed very beautiful, and we must pass down this to the future generation. So I'm in charge of the CCS, but I've also been working in the area of decarbonization. This beautiful Earth must be protected, and one method to enable this is CCS. So today, I shall discuss the 5 topics listed here. First of all, let me give you an explanation regarding the NEDO organization. There are two missions mentioned here. First, for the Earth and environment, the challenges and the solutions will be worked on. And second is to enhance industrial technology. For NEDO, public technological development management organization is how we can be described. It is an innovation accelerator. Sai-san has talked about the policy side. According to the policy that has been formulated by the government, grants are provided through public invitation. The companies, universities, and public research institutions will be selected for basic research, enhancement of scale, and for introduction into society. By so doing, NEDO intends to resolve the society's problems through promoting research and development. These are the fields that we cover. There are two main fields. Based on the mission, energy and environmental fields are being promoted. The other is industrial fields. For this area, this includes renewable energies, clean coal technologies, as well as energy efficiency. That is included in the former field. In the industrial field, electronic parts, telecommunications, materials, nanotechnology, and more recently, IO have also been covered as well. Now I'd like to talk about the necessity of CCS. This is information from IEA, as you know very well. In 2050, net zero is to be achieved, and therefore in various areas, or in all areas, we need to reduce the emissions of CO2. Please look at the right-hand side. By 2050, in order to achieve net zero, the energy areas that will need to reduce CO2 is included renewable energies as well as hydrogen receiving attention today are included, as well as CCS is expected to reduce CO2 emissions. Here, this is Japanese policy. As Saik-san has already mentioned, in detail, I'm not going to labor this point. By 2050, CCS must be promoted in this time frame. That means that from next year, feasibility study will have to be started. That has been clarified in our policies. Next, NEDO's effort on CCUS will be explained. Here, we have the CCUS overview. As mentioned earlier, these are the emission gases from coal as well as natural gas. Or fossil fuels utilization will generate energy, then the CO2s will be emissions. This must be captured. And after capture is made, geological storage will be required. That is what the CCS is about. And once CO2 is captured, a secondary utilization for chemical as well as jet fuel could be utilization of the CO2. I will give you further details about NEDO's initiatives on these new technologies later. This is the CO2 Capture Technical Roadmap. Now, time is on the horizontal axis, and cost for recovering CO2 is on the vertical axis. As Saik-san mentioned, in terms of CO2 cost, CO2 capture cost must be reduced going forward. On the part of NEDO, we also believe strongly that the CO2 capture cost must be reduced on the part of NEDO. As mentioned here, we are focused on chemical absorption method, the physical absorption method, and solid absorption method, as well as membrane separation method. By improving these methodology, we hope to reduce cost. This is the CO2 capture project that I would like to talk about. This is from Kansai Electric Power. The coal-fired power plant is shown here. From this power plant, CO2 have been captured. In terms of technology, we are using a solid absorption method. Absorption includes porous materials impregnated with amines. So the flue gas goes through the tower, and by so doing, a CO2 is captured. And then the flue gas here does not include CO2 anymore. And in this part, the recovered CO2 will be collected. And this is the drying of the solid absorbent. Now, as I mentioned here, Kawasaki Heavy Industry is a contractor. And RIDE is also involved for the development of the solid absorbent. This has been introduced in 2020 and it became a NATO project in 2018. 40 tons per day has been demonstrated so far. Next, I shall proceed to talk about CO2 storage. This was also mentioned by Saiki-san previously. This is in the Tomakomai of Hokkaido. The CO2 injection has been made at this plant. In 2012, a preparation started for the plant EPC, as well as construction began. Well drilling was mentioned by way of preparation. From 2016, CO2 injection has begun. For 4 years, injection has been made. In 2020, monitoring is being conducted. In parallel, for the CO2 that is being recovered, effective utilization is considered. Therefore, CCU is under study presently. This is the Tomakomai layout from the refinery that is existing. The hydrogen is produced from the off gas. CO2 is captured and amine absorption is made for the purpose of recovery, which is then stored underground. For the reservoir, there are two types. 1,000 to 1,200 meters, and the other is 2,400 to 3,000 reservoir. Here is the total amount of the CO2 injection time, horizontal, and volume is on the vertical. We have gradually increasing since 2017 and has reached 300,000 tons. In the ground. CO2 transportation. The source of CO2 that has been covered and the geological storage site could be delivered using piping, but if it is remotely positioned, then it has to be gasified, liquefied for transportation. So we are now constructing the vessel for liquefaction, and we have been conducting this in 2014, and in 2023 the vessel will be completed and CO2 transport demonstration scheduled to begin in 2024 in Hokkaido. Maizuru will be connected. Utilization will be explained next. For the CO2 that is captured is at the lower part. As already explained, it's the power generation plant as well as from the plants CO2 will be captured. And according to future technology, CO2 it could be captured from the air, which is called DAC, direct air capture, and then it can be subject to geological storage, but the CO2 that is recovered can be methanized to create methane, as well as methanol can be created, which is a material for chemical products. So once the CO2 is recovered, it can be used as material for concrete, for buildings as well. This CCU utilization project will now be introduced. This is regarding paraxylene production from CO2. Paraxylene, as you know, is used for PET bottles, plastic bottles, as well as apparel. And in a usual plant, the crude oil will be raw materials. It will go to the refinery, and paraxylene will be synthesized. In this process, CO2 will be emitted. In this project, the CO2 will be neutralized. Therefore, regarding CO2, as already explained, the CO2 that is captured from the plant can be utilized. And renewable energy can create hydrogen by utilizing two raw materials. The paraxylene can be created. That means that polyester clothes and plastic bottles are carbon neutral in Toyota University, as well as Dakota Corporation and Nippon Steel Engineering are promoting this project. NEDO R&D and demonstration base for carbon recycling will be explained. This is, as mentioned here, in September of this year, we have opened R&D base for carbon recycling in Hiroshima. It is referred to as the Osaki Coolgen project. And Chugoku Electric Power coal power plant is utilized. The off gas is used for demonstration study. So it's a commercial operation, and the off gas is utilized from this plant. This is the first time it's conducted in Japan. And as mentioned here, it is divided into three areas: R&D, as well as demonstration research area, and the algae research areas. A carbon recycle base will be created in an intensified manner. Carbon recycling technologies will be promoted. Cost reduction as well as social implementation acceleration efforts will be underway. Lastly, I would like to discuss the Green Innovation Fund. This is what we are envisioning for the future. As you can see here, renewable energies are abundantly used, full of greenery, and children are smiling. This is the type of society we would like to establish for the future. Against this backdrop, the Japanese government announced that we will achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. The announcement was made in 2020. Green growth strategy has been emphasized in this regard. 14 growth sectors have been identified. Budget will be allocated, and green growth strategy will be executed accordingly. In formulating this strategy, we have also established a Green Innovation Fund for the to the tune of 2 trillion yen. There are three areas of focus. First is continuous support for up to 10 years. Second, from ambitious R&D to social implementation. The third focus is management commitment will be required. Now, regarding management commitment, once the business companies as well as private sectors are selected, CEO will have to be engaged with the METI as well as with the NEDO to discuss the technology as well as marketing strategy for the future. Direct conversation needs to be had to utilize this fund to lead to social implementation. This is the Green Innovation Fund utilization, the offshore wind power, green steel, and large-scale systems are the areas where the funding has been allocated. One by one, projects are underway, making progress. And regarding CO2, capture has also received funding. As mentioned here, for the CO2 sufficient capture, 38 billion yen has been allocated to projects. These are the private sector companies involved in this process, as well as R&D institutions, as well as the academia. Working together, we are promoting social implementation of CCS. So this is what I'd like to emphasize. The best way to predict the future is to create it. I talked about the future forecast, and information has been provided. We have to create the future. So what is important is not just predict the future, but to take on the initiative to create this future that we envision together with all of you. I hope that this envisioned society can be established. On the part of NATO, we'll do our utmost. I'd like to ask for your continued cooperation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
大木様ありがとうございます。
Well, Oki-san, thank you very much. The CCS it covers the capture, storage, and transportation, so it is quite wide. And the NEDO has been promoting this strongly, for which we are very much encouraged with. So we would like to kindly ask for your continued support for the development of the CCUS industry. My pleasure. Now we would like to proceed to the next presentation. From the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia area, we have the Special Advisor to the President on Energy Affairs, Kimura-san, and he is going to provide us with an explanation on Asia CCUS network as a platform for development and the deployment of the CCS CCUS in Asian region. The floor is yours.
Nambo-san, for your kind introduction, and very good morning, distinguished speakers and the participants in here and the participants from the online. I'm Japanese, but I try to use English. Thank you again, Nambo-san, for your introductions. As you know, also the Saik-san is mentioned this area. It's an Economic Research Institute for the ASEAN East Asia. We are in charge of the Secretariat of the Asia CCS Network. So that today, I'd like to introduce our activities, Asian activities in last year and this year. So next, please. So I think that many people remember that ASEAN Asia CCS Network was officially launched during the first Asia CCS Network Forum. It was held in June last year, applying the virtual meeting systems. So that forum was kicked off by the opening remarks delivered by the former METI ministers, His Excellency Hiroshi Kajiwara, and President of the area is Professor Hidetoshi Nishimura, and followed by the 9 ministerial remarks from the ES countries, which are Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos PDR, Singapore, Australia, and United States, Philippines, and Thailand. So after the ministerial remarks, we invite the head of the 3 international organizations, namely IEA, GCCSI, and OGCI. And all three head of the international organization is emphasize the importance role of the CCS in Asia regions. And then after the keynote speech, we had the Japan CCS showcase to introduce the Japan CCS activities, including the CCS transportation by ship and Gundi CCS project, and also the storage technologies. Then after that, we have the three panel discussion to invite the policy makers and experts of the CCS in Asia regions to discuss about the expectation to the ASEAN and private investment to the CCS and government support, and also the financing schemes. Then after forum is ASEAN is officially activate its activities. And we had 37 speakers and online audience about the 600. Next, please. Then after the first forum, so Asia CCS Network officially started work. Then we have the vision. That is through collaboration and cooperation on development and deployment of the CCUS in ES regions, East Asia Summit regions, ASEAN 10 countries plus so far 8 countries. The network will contribute decarbonization of the regions, so that we'd like to contribute the decarbonization, applying the CCS and the CCUS. Then, in addition to the vision, we have the also roadmap or milestone. Also, Saik-san already mentioned. We have the 3 milestones. The first milestone is launch of the Asia CCS network in 2020. Then it has done already last year. And the next milestone is a development project and business environment. So that Saik-san also mentioned this. Our second milestone is how to set up or start the CCS pilot project in this region, this EAS, or concentrate to the ASEAN region. Then eventually, after the 2030, CCS is surely contribute the decarbonization in the Asia regions and commercial basis, so that hopefully CCS will be workable commercial basis and technically and economically. Next, please. Then, in order to achieve the vision, we need to have the mission, 3 missions. First one is to promote knowledge sharing through the conference and the workshop, so that still in the Asia region, the CCS and the CCS is not so familiar, like OECD countries and the United States and Japan. So that knowledge sharing in this region is very, very important. And conduct research studies on the technical, economical, and the legal standard of the CCUS, and holding the capacity building trainings, so that we, Asia CCS Network, is conduct the 3 missions: knowledge sharing, research studies, and the capacity building trainings. Next, please. So that the knowledge sharing conference, last year, 21 to 2022, we held the 5 knowledge sharing. First one, to invite IEA to introduce their publications, namely CCS, the opportunity in the Southeast Asia. So that that report is emphasized, introduce a lot of the CCS carbon storage potential in ASEAN regions. I remembered. And the second one is to invite the USD Gerardo-san. Thank you very much at the time. And Gerardo-san is introduced to the Asian peoples, to the US government activities in terms of the insight and experience of the CCS development, including the pilot project. So that US experience and expertise is very, very useful for the Asia region. And the third one is to invite the OGCI, Oil and Gas Green Initiative. That's one. So that is a group of the oil and gas companies, especially in European basis. And we invite the OGCI to introduce the CCS activities in Europe region, the ongoing project, and also the how to storage the CO2 in European region, so that they are introduced the one of very famous project in Europe, Northern Light, something like. Then after that is we invite the SEM CCS initiative, Mr. Jufo, to introduce the SEM activities. And the SEM is a very worldwide organization. Is CCS SEM is seek for the collaboration is all regions, so that in Asia region. On behalf of the Asian region, so AGCS network is collaborate with the SEM in terms of the knowledge sharing and also the to start the pilot project of the CCS. Then the last one is we invite the Australia Department of Industry, Science, Energy, and Resource Australians. Then Australia is now conducting the many CCS and the CCUS project with support of the Australian government. For example, is DAC, direct air capture with solar PV systems, and also the carbon recycling to produce the construction materials, and also the introduction of the CCS project, capture and storage. Then I'm very surprised the speakers mentioned this CCS cost is Australia in the 20 US per CO2 ton. So I'm very surprised, but anyway, we need to check the condition or environment configuration of the project. Next, please. For the capacity buildings, we collaboration with Mitsubishi Research Institute. We conduct the basic lecture of the CCS. So for the capture technologies, we invite the speaker expert from the GCSI. So again, thank you, GCSI, and also the Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. They are introduced the chemical absorption technology to catch the CO2s. And for the transportation and the storage, we invite the one expert from MRI to introduce the pipeline and the ship transportation of the CO2. And another speaker is expert from the light to introduce the how to storage CO2 into the underground. There are several ways, and EGR, EOR, and the dry hole, and also the sandstone formations. Then third one is utilizations. There are several utilizations, and one speaker from the Pertamina to introduce the EOR, now conducted by the Pertaminas. And also the another speaker from the professor from of the National University of Singapore. He introduced us the how to recycle the carbon CO2 change to the synthetic fuels. Then synthetic fuel used for the as petroleum fuels. So that is very, very useful trainings. And it was held these 3 days in October last year. Next, please. We also collaboration with Mitsubishi Research Institute to conduct the one research studies. Then this studies is include the two aspects. One is cost analysis of the CCS, and another one is regulatory and policy studies. Then for the CCS cost analysis, we assume the model case. For the capture, we apply the chemical absorption using amine to the CO2 from the coal power plant. That is 500 megawatt of USC, ultra supercriticals. Then transportation, we assume the 50 kilometers of pipeline from the coal power plant to the storage site. Then storage site is, we assume the sandstone formation during the about the 800 meters, then inject to the CO2. So then also we need the capital cost and operation cost of the each activities, captures and transportation, the storage. In this regard, we refer to the public information and the data, so that our studies is really fully depend on the public information. Then as a result, we can get the CO2 storage cost. That is $62.8 per CO2. Then capturing cost shared is 73%, followed by the storage 25%, and transportation is very, very limited shares because of the 50 kilometers. So that if we change our assumption, for example, the 50 kilometers to the 300 kilometers, and also the change scale of the coal power plant, and also the depths of the sandstone formation, cost is changing. So that we should remind the this result is under some assumption. So that if assumption change, cost change, also the cost structure will be changed. Then I move on to the regulatory and the policy studies. Firstly, we analyze, review the existing legal and regulatory situations in OECD countries like EU and US and Australia and Japan. Then we prepare some recommendation to the Asia region, especially ASEAN. Firstly, ASEAN, each country to set up the legal and the regulatory framework of the CCS specific matters. I think that there is oil and gas regulations, but we cannot apply the oil and gas regulation for the CCS. So that need to set up the CCS specific legal and regulatory framework as a first step. Then after that, ASEAN is formulate the ASEAN-wide cooperation framework in terms of the legal and the regulatory framework. So that Saik-san mentioned about the in the ASEAN regions, CO2 potential is really limited countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, so that other countries to have to export. So that in this regard, CO2 is not one country basis matters, region-wide basis. So that need to the regional-wide cooperation frameworks. Then the policy frame is we fully suggest the ASEAN government to set up the carbon neutral target and financial mechanism, including their carbon pricings. That is very, very important. Next, please. Then we ASEAN is already released the two publications, volume 1 and volume 2. Then volume 2, including the previous slide, is cost and legal framework. And volume 1 is just a textbook of the CCS. So that I think like introduction of CCS is this publication is very, very useful. Next, please. Second, HSCC network forum was held. So Saik-san also mentioned is the forum is also kicked off by the delivering of opening remarks of the METI ministers. It is His Excellency Yasutoshi Nishimura, and head of the president of the areas. Then followed by the 7 ministerial remarks come from the Brunei, Dar es Salaam, and Cambodia, Indonesia, Lao PDR, Thailand, Philippines, and the United States. Then after that is we have the 3 keynote speech, and that from the GCSI and the JOGMEC and the CCS Plus initiatives. And GCSI and JOGMEC is a very strong supporter to the ASEAN. Then their keynote speech is also echo to the importance of role of CCS in the Asia region. And also the CCS initiative is touch upon the carbon credit, carbon mechanism. That is very, very important to promote investment to the CCS and the CCUS. Then after that is we also have the panel discussion to invite the 6 advisory group members of the EAS countries. Then we are discuss about the policy issues, CCS policies in the EAS regions. So that is kind of the information sharing of the how ASEAN and the EAS countries to promote the CCS and the CCUS. Then Saik-san is also already mentioned as a result of the forum confirmed to start the pilot CCS project in ASEAN region by the 2025 around and afterwards. So that we ASEAN is have to initiate the CCS project by hopefully by the 2025. Next, please. Then in this regard, I would like to introduce some result of the energy outlook. We area has been updating the ES energy outlook every 2 years, and our outlook covered the ASEAN 10 countries plus Australia, China, India, Japan, Korea, New Zealand, and the United States. Then we apply the economics approach to the energy outlook. Then the purpose of the this outlook is assess the EEC, energy efficiency, and the renewable policy to be formulated by the ES7 countries. So that I think each 17 countries is prepare the target of the energy efficiency and the renewable. Then this target is how contribute energy saving and the CO2 reductions. Then, so that usually we prepare the 2 outlook, BAU and the APS. APS including the aggressive EEC and carbon renewables. But in addition, we prepare the LCET-CN, low carbon energy transition, the carbon neutral scenario. So that this is 2020 this year. We prepared the 3 scenarios, BAU, APS, and carbon neutral scenarios. Then our concept of the carbon neutral is in the final sectors to promote the electrifications. So that especially in the transport sector, is a shift to the electric EVs, and also the fuel switching to the fossil fuel to hydrogen. Industry sectors still use oil and gas for the activities, so that replaced by the hydrogen. Then the power sectors, we apply the following low carbon technologies is increased renewables and installation of a nuclear power plant. But anyway, it is some argument. And hydrogen and ammonia and the thermal power plant with CCS. Next, please. So this one is a result of our energy outlook of the low carbon energy scenarios. This slide is just to focus on the ASEAN part. As you know, the orange is thermal power generation with CCS. So that 7 of the 10 ASEAN countries apply CCS to thermal power generations. And share of the thermal power generation with CCS in the ASEAN region will be 1,800 terawatt hours and 42% of the total power generation in 2050. And the carbon neutral pathway looks shift from the coal to gas and increase RE and apply the CCS. So that now currently ASEAN's mind is they are considered CCS technology very important for them to achieve the carbon neutral until the 2050s. Next, please. Then in order to facilitate the CCS pilot project by the 2050, we conduct the 4 research studies this year. First one is a CO2 storage potential in Asia regions. Second one is basic design of the Asia CCS value chain in a collective framework. And the third one is legal and policy framework to deploy the CCS. And the fourth is financial frameworks. Then GCSI is kindly submit the 4 proposal to the each study themes. And after the careful assessment of the on the GCSI proposals, ASEAN finally eventually is approved to this proposal, and we now is conducting the contract process with the GCSI. And in addition to the 4 projects, we also conduct the one more project that is Indonesia. Indonesia is very, very important in terms of the carbon capture storage potentials. So that we received the one proposal from the Indonesia, and the proposal is really focused on the CO2 storage potential in ASEAN region. It's Indonesia. Then this proposal is really focused on the sandstone formations. So that in addition to the proposal come from the GCSI, finally ASEAN will decide to to approve the one more project from the Indonesia, focus on the CO2 storage potential in Indonesia. Next, please. Then we also continuously conduct the knowledge sharing. So far, we plan to hold the 2 conference. One is Carbon Engineering LTD, perspective of the DAC with CCS and the carbon recycling, hopefully in January next year. And our conference is JOGMEC. Kindly is participate our conference to introduce their activity, their studies, CCS screening in Southeast Asia using the regional database in February. Then we want to hold the another 2 or 3 knowledge sharing by the April or May. And also capacity building training, we are now talking with USGS. They are expert of the estimation of the carbon or storage potentials. So that target is geologist in the ASEAN region. Then we invite the USGS expert to ASEAN region, then teach how to estimate carbon storage. That is very important, is capacity building trainings. And also, this activity is related with questionnaire survey for global storage capacity preliminary research being conducted by the USDOE, SEM, CCS Initiative, USGS, and IEA GHG. So that so far, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, PDR, Myanmar is joined this questionnaire surveys. Next, please. Then ASEAN is formulated the ASEAN advisory group consists of the ASEAN 10 plus Australia, India, Japan, and the United States. Then this group is fully support and provide useful comment to the ASEAN. So that we had the two advisory meeting. One is virtual, one is in person. Then talk about the preparation of the second ASEAN Forum, and also the how to select the proposals for the research studies, and also the capacity trainings. So that's advisory group is a very, very important group for the ASEANs. Then also we invite the ASEAN members to the CCS Tobakomai CCS project on 28 September. What I mean is seeing is believing. So that so Asian people surely understand what is CCS. Then we also contribute to the external event that is ACE, Center for Energy, WCA, World Coal Association workshop on CCT and the CCS financing toward carbon neutral. That is March 31, and area is invited to this workshop as speakers. And also we co-host the G20 ETWG. すいません。はい、もう終わります。ごめんなさい。
I will soon finish.
ETWG Energy Transition Working Group, a side event, namely making CCS and CCUS affordable. So that ASEAN is surely contribute to the external event. And then release the newsletter. Next, please. Then that's my conclusion, but everybody understand. The next, please. This one is ASEAN website. Is ASEAN area is day by day is update this website. So that's appreciate to everybody to access this website and to get the hot information and the hot data of the CCS in the Asia region. Thank you very much for your attention. Sorry.
Thank you very much for Kimura-san for your excellent comprehensive presentation to focus on the mission and activities of Asia CCS Network. We Global CCS Institute continue to collaborate with AREA and ASEAN to enhance commercial deployment of CCS project in Asia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.